What's up, everybody? This is the ethnically diverse man here, and today I'm here to answer a simple yet very important question. Call of Duty World War II. Will it suck? Now you can think of this as a predictions video. I'm usually pretty good about feeling a game and figuring out whether or not it's gonna suck or not, at least in my opinion. So I was able to play a game of Team Deathmatch at PAX, and after that I decided to pre-order it, and I got access to the beta, so I decided to play it. I guess the first game I played at PAX really left an impression on me. Let's find out if it was good or bad. Now, I believe, I could be wrong, it's still a beta, but I believe I have a pretty good idea of where this game stands and where it's going. I have a pretty good idea of whether or not it's gonna suck donkey balls or if it's gonna be tasty like butter. So again, remember, this is a beta. This is all subject to change. I could be 100% right, or I could be wrong. Well, the first thing I noticed is when you start the beta, there's like this huge disclaimer that's like 5 pages long, and it's like someone's in all caps yelling at you or something. It says, Activision reserves the right to destroy your entire life if you abuse this or do something illegal. Basically what it says. And you know, that's pretty nice to read right before you play a game. So let's talk positives and then we'll move on to the negatives. The first thing I saw when I started the beta was this divisions thing, where you can basically join a bunch of different squads. You choose from one of them, they give you different perks, sets, weapons, all that sort of thing. And they had these cool little intro videos, which was actually really refreshing and interesting to watch. They're like specializations to fit your playstyle if you want to be someone that charges in with a bayonet, or you're more of a sniper, or you like LMGs, it's that sort of thing. And the nice thing about it was you don't have to commit to just one of them. You can kind of go back and forth, I think, as you level up. This is kind of like the factions from Titanfall 2, except this time around they actually give you gameplay altering rewards, which is a really cool idea, I gotta say. Now, I was also hoping that these videos would be like black and white and not super crisp HD color, just for the feeling of World War II. I was hoping that was going to be the case, but yeah. But then I watched the second briefing and something changed. And you knew this was coming. We have to discuss it. There's no getting around it. It's part of the game. It's been part of the shit surrounding the game, so let's just quickly dive into it. So, being 100% honest, this took me out of the game right here. I lost the immersion that the first video gave me. And it was just for a moment, but I lost it nonetheless. Again, I could be wrong, and here's another issue that I currently see. Some people say it's okay for COD to have these customization options for different races, and that's a fair point. You know, it is just customization. It's not a huge deal. The only stipulation is a game named after a real-world event should do everything in its power to make you feel like this is really World War II. You should be able to suspend your disbelief and immerse yourself in this game, in World War II, even if it's a mode like zombies. Now, this took me out of the experience because, no offense, a black woman in this time period during this event, on the America side or whoever it was, would most likely not be the candidate of choice to be in a real World War II video about recruiting new soldiers. It didn't seem like that would be the type of person that would be in there. And don't take this as racist shit, alright? Actually think about it historically. Yeah, it's multiplayer, but a black woman as like a general or a sergeant, as far as I know, that was not the case at all. And because this had been talked about prior to the game, this controversy had been brought up, I started thinking about that. Now, if the social justice angle had never been brought up, I probably wouldn't have cared. I would have thought, that's a little weird, but okay. But part of the reason this is an issue is because it was made an issue, right? As my Feminists and SJWs video said.
Because the more you make an issue of race and color, the more you make race and color an issue.
And that's kind of the dealio here. I mean, you'd expect the person doing this video to be something like this, or something like this. And you know, for some people, this isn't really a big deal to them, and I get that, you know, because it really isn't. In my case, I think these briefing videos are well made, well written, and well choreographed, and awesome. But we shouldn't sacrifice immersion or make concessions for the sake of diversity and political correctness, is basically what I'm getting at. Even though it's multiplayer, it's not like COD World War II is gonna have the ray gun as a kill streak, right? Because that would break the immersion, the reality. And so I guess it's like, where do you draw the line with this stuff? Multiplayer still needs to feel like World War II, and the good news is, it does. You know, I also briefly saw, as I was playing, the replacement swastika. I can't remember what it's called. I think the Iron Cross, but I saw that and once again was briefly taken out of the experience, because this time the removal of the swastika from multiplayer was again made an issue. When I saw that, I thought about that issue and that controversy, and that's kind of distracting, you know? These controversies don't need to be surrounding the game. If they never really said anything about it, I wouldn't have thought about it, and I would have been just fine. But you know, it was publicized, and so I had it in my head. Realistically, it's not as important as the rest of the game, and hopefully these aspects of Call of Duty World War II are not ham-fisted, especially in the single-player campaign. So we got that shit out of the way, moving on. Gameplay, it's nice, it's fluid, the guns are satisfying to use, we got the return of the M1 Garand and the MP40. Baby, get your blunt ready, cause that shit is fire. There's none of that stupid ass movement shit, it's just classic Call of Duty gameplay. I had a blast playing this with friends, not gonna lie. It was really fun to play with people, maybe because it was brand new or it was a beta. But I think part of that was also because the game itself was just fun. You know, having it be a return to what Call of Duty was about kind of got all of us excited when we were at PAX. We had a 5-on-5 and I just had a kick-ass time with my first game. We got the squad here, about to go up. 5v5, baby.
What's up?
What's
up, everybody? I'm Ack-Man. I'm the real Ack-Man. I've been
The real
the whole fucking time, yeah.
The guns were all fun to use, especially the ones I picked up. And none of them really felt like, oh yeah, everyone's using this. Like, even though the M1 Garand is in Call of Duty World War II, you know, you didn't see a vast majority of people using it. It felt like the game was pretty well balanced. But I didn't play too much, so take that with a grain of salt. I mean, gun attachments look good, bouncing betties are back. Secondary weapons had like 3 choices, which Call of Duty's always had that problem of not giving you many secondary choices, but hey, it looks like there's only going to be 1 perk per class, which is kind of weird because customization is usually a lot more than that in Call of Duty games. It makes it feel a little less customizable. But the perks themselves are pretty powerful and unique, so it kind of makes up for it. We'll have to wait till the game comes out. Overall, I felt customization was a little bit weaker this time around. Maybe that's for more realism, but you know, customization has always been one of Call of Duty's like strong points. So the game modes they had was Team Deathmatch, that's your classic Team Deathmatch. Then there was Hardpoint, we've already had that, and Domination. So 3 game modes we've kind of already seen before, but the 4th one, War, was the one that really stood out. This took a lot of inspiration from Battlefield 1's Operations, in the sort of, you know, advancing battle lines, push forward, take the objective, new objective, push forward, take that sort of thing, and it was actually pretty fun, I gotta say. Even though it kind of felt like it was copying Battlefield 1 and Overwatch with the payload thing that it had, it was still pretty fun in its own right. Unfortunately, it was hampered, of course, by fucking kill barriers and invisible walls, and god, that shit is just so annoying, especially when it gives you like 3 seconds.
The tank is backing up. Where are you going, soldier? The soldiers around that tank.
I can see this as being a fan favorite mode, and I think it's going to be something that I play a lot. You could like destroy walls and repair them. It was a little nice touch of depth to the maps and the gameplay. There were more things like that, like you could get in a tank, or you had to build the railroad, you had to build the train tracks, and that was fucking awesome. We'd just throw our bodies against it, just like, we're all building the train, dude. Oh, I'm building the train. So that was definitely the highlight of Call of Duty World War II. Now the kill streaks were pretty awesome, but I didn't get to use all of them. One of the coolest things was when I used this like bombing run or artillery strike, your dude just pulls out this like old school paper map, and I'm so used to him pulling out like a digital laptop. Microsoft Edge. And so just to see that little layer of detail was really cool. The graphics were pretty great, the maps looked awesome, the sound design was pretty good. Actually, I was thinking about this earlier too. Have you ever listened to a Call of Duty soundtrack or thought to yourself, I want to listen to the Call of Duty theme, whatever that is? I was thinking about that because the main menu song was really good. I've never looked up a Call of Duty soundtrack before. Never, because they just never stood out to me that much. And I think this Call of Duty will change that. I think it'll have a pretty awesome soundtrack. One last thing, the pre-game screen where all your soldiers are just like chilling. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So overall, there's a lot of positives to Call of Duty World War II. You might be thinking, oh, Actaman, this game sounds fantastic. How could it possibly suck? Well, I'll tell you. So first off, no surprise here, we got the usual and classic greedy fucking bullshit microtransactions, expansion pass, pre-order bonuses from Activision and Call of Duty. I mean, did you see this coming? Because you should have, kid. It seems like Activision is like quadrupling down because now you can get supply drops by watching your buddies open supply drops, and it's just like, dude, you're trying to spread this fucking addiction to people's friends? Like, why are you trying so hard to get people hooked on supply drops? Don't buy this shit. Don't fucking buy it. I swear to God. I will come to your house. Now, the biggest problem I had, and a lot of my other buddies had as we were playing it, was the map design. And it shows symptomatic problems across all of the maps we played, with exception to the war map. Now, there's two key points, and they've been brought up in great-ass videos by Favyn and Bdobbins. And I'll link those in the description below, because it's very important to Call of Duty's map design, because they're integral components of Call of Duty's gameplay. If you don't have stellar maps, your gameplay is gonna suffer. And Favyn's brought this up before with Titanfall 2, but it's the idea of 3-lane maps, where you basically have 3 lanes that you go down, and that's it. Feels like that's all there was in the beta, was just these 3-lane maps. I'll get more into that in a little bit. And the second point that Bdobbins raised was map geometry in Call of Duty games. In the recent ones, it basically turned into blocks. There was nothing unique, it was just all blocks. All cover was blocks, or a wall. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine if you were peeking around a corner and there's like a slant. In later Call of Duty games, it's just a box, right? Or maybe there'd be like some sort of divot where you could come up like that, or something that would show your legs. You know, just unique cover and interesting map geometry that doesn't just look and feel the same. And that's kind of what Call of Duty World War II is doing, is just simplified, streamlined map design, which really got kind of boring. For example, there was this little hole in the wall where you could drop down, and it looked like you could just barely squeeze into camp there, but the game had these like little walls that pushed you and forced you down it, and it was, I just hate that shit. I hate looking at something and being like, I'm gonna go there, and then the game's like, no, you're not. And this just sucks because now the maps aren't as creative. People can't navigate them or move around them in interesting, unique ways because it's so streamlined and everything is a box and everything has kill barriers and invisible walls. It was hard to run around the maps and try to find some interesting way to do that. Now, Call of Duty has always had this problem, but with this recent game, it feels pretty bad. To the point where it feels like you have to go down 3 to 5 lanes every time you respawn. And if you die about 30 times a match or whatever, you're gonna be seeing the same shit every single time. Now, for those of you old folks out there that might have played a little game called Call of Duty World War II, you might remember how fucking fantastic the maps were in that game. I'd even go so far as to say they're some of the best maps in any first-person shooter ever. And that's a bold statement, Cotton, but I would sure as hell back it up if it were challenged. So what do I mean by this? Well, part of the reason Modern Warfare 2 was so good was because the maps were fantastic. They were always fun to play and replay. Like, I almost never got tired of playing on Terminal and fighting in the airplane, or, I mean, all the maps, you look at the selection they had, and it's like, that's a good one, that's a good one, kinda. Oh, fuck yeah. You know, I could go on and on, but the point is, the maps in Modern Warfare 2 complemented the gameplay in a way that I could replay them over and over and over again. Because there were so many ways to move around, there was different cover, there was choke points, there was close corridors, there was verticality, there were secret spots you could get to that gave you a really good advantage but were hard to get to, you know, like on high rise. I mean, it was just, they were great freaking maps. And you really had to position yourself well if you wanted to do well. And so the point is, it feels like COD World War II has a very streamlined 3-lane map design that is not going to complement the fun gameplay. And in fact, it'll take away from that. No, none of the maps really wowed me. We're never like, oh, baby, that's great. I didn't really get that feeling. I was kind of just like, yeah, this is a map. And I really think that's COD World War II's biggest problem, is they need to do more interesting things. They had the building walls and destroying walls, and that was cool for war, but the other maps, they need something. They need some sort of interaction, or they need to be wider. There needs to be a really cool set piece that's in the middle. You know, something that just makes it unique and fun to replay over and over again. So a couple little things, and then I'll wrap this up. The endgame emotes were cheesy as hell. They're just kind of gay. I don't know why they're there, but for the microtransactions. You're a thinker, Axeman, you're a thinker. I am so deeply offended by the way Call of Duty decided to censor profane clan tags like poop and 8008. What the hell, man? What the hell? So overall, it feels like COD World War II has a lot going for it. It feels like the gameplay is solid, the guns are awesome, the look, feel, and sound of the gameplay and everything around it is just buttery smooth. It was fun to play, it was interesting, and I think it'll be, honestly, the best COD out of the last 4 to 5 entries in the series. Which is a really good thing considering this advanced movement warfare number 12 game has, you know, sucked a lot of dick, but COD World War II is trying new things, and it's bringing back old things that fans love, and hopefully it does well. I honestly hope it does, but just don't fucking buy those supply drop shit. I'm serious, dude. The only real things I saw that took away from it was the social justice, diversity, pandering, political correctness bullshit that's surrounding this game, and it just has no reason to be there. Those controversies don't benefit the game, they just distract players from what the game is supposed to be about, you know? It's unnecessary, because people are gonna be bitching about that when they should be bitching about the microtransactions. I know, I won't shut up about it, but seriously. Now, if you've gotten this far, of course, the biggest problem is the map design, which, you know, I'm willing to bet a lot of the maps will be a simple 3-lane style with little deviation, innovation, or uniqueness to them. They'll just kind of make them because that's easier. It'll be a case of Titanfall 2, where the gameplay is super solid and fun, but the maps are just less than stellar. Of course, I can't talk campaign as I didn't see anything, but hopefully it'll be good. And Zombies is coming back too, so there's a lot to look forward to. Who knows? We may be surprised by what Call of Duty World War II brings to the table. So, in conclusion, no. I don't think Call of Duty World War II will suck donkey balls. I think it'll have slightly sucky aspects, but for the most part, I feel like it's going to be a pretty solid game. If they can bring us a dope-ass single-player campaign with a great story, you know, something to think about, some characters that you care about, some laughs, some giggles, some goofs, some gaffs, I think the campaign will be awesome. Zombies, hopefully they don't overcomplicate it like Black Ops 3. If you like that, that's fine. It was just too complicated for me, but hopefully Zombies is great too. Of course, there's also the greedy-ass bullshit that goes on with Call of Duty and Activision, but that's typical. Doesn't mean we should accept it or be any less critical of it, though. Overall, I think Call of Duty World War II will be a pretty awesome video game, held back only by its map design, diversity, controversy, and greedy-ass bullshit. But what are your thoughts? Are you as patriotic as me right now? Are you hyped to play as America and fight those Nazi bastards? No, not Antifa, like the legitimate Nazis, you know, from the Nazi Party World War II. That's what I'm talking about, not Antifa. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think it's gonna suck, or do you think it's gonna be awesome? If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the politically correct diversity man, signing out. Peace!